Hello everyone, I just wanted to make a video because a video was posted fairly recently by Emelyn Jones in which he mentions me, and I'm just going to play a bit of this video here because it's in relation to the death of Ian R. Crane, and Ben basically made some false statements. I'm just going to play a bit of this video for you so that you can hear what he said, and I've written this up in the article that you can see here on Check the Evidence. I'll put the link in the description.
What it's all about, but you see, the reason I fell out with Andrew Johnson is to do with Ian. As I said, I always endorse Andrew's work, and I think he's a great researcher. I don't have any. In my professional relationship with Andrew is exactly the same, but I can have no personal relationship at the moment, and maybe I never will be able to again. I just don't know. You see, what happened was Andrew was. I found out Ian was really sick and he was probably going to die. He was going into hospital for an operation, a terrible one. As Miles said on his video, they couldn't even give him anaesthetic because, for whatever reason, and they weren't sure. Ian did a little video, a very brave and heartfelt video, just before he went in hospital with UK Column. He recorded with UK Column saying that you know, he wasn't sure he was going to live, and this could be the end. When he goes under the anaesthetic, he might never come out again in this world, and so he was saying goodbye to people basically. And you see, I'd already heard about this a couple of days beforehand, through a mutual friend, but he made an announcement on Facebook about it. And Andrew, I mean, I sometimes think I'm a bit too hard on Andrew, because you see, it's not, if you're a tactless, if you do something tactless and heartless, you're just a socially ham-fisted dolt. I mean, it's not evil. It's just you're slightly socially inept. It's not the same as doing something maliciously and with the intent to harm. And so I don't know. I think maybe I was too hard on Andrew. But what happened was, Andrew, on this thread where there was a thread of comments underneath this video that Ian posted announcing he was maybe going to die, and people were filling it with comments saying, "Get well soon, everyone. Get well soon, Ian. We're thinking of you, praying for you, etc., etc." And Andrew Johnson comes along with his size 12s and says, "Ian R. Crane lied about 9/11." This is the comment he put on that particular article. "Ian R. Crane lied about 9/11, and he ignores Dr. Judy Wood, and then he said something about cancer cures." I can't remember what it was, because I just flipped when I read that, and I wasn't the only one actually. We just went. I mean, I actually swore at him in Facebook, and then I blocked him. I can't remember, I won't repeat what I called him, but I was just so furious. It's not what he said; it's where he said it. It's just so inappropriate. As I said, it could be he's just a rather insensitive, blundering fool, rather than wanting to harm Ian and taking this opportunity to hurt Ian. But I think he owes Ian, and I said at the time, I think he owes Ian a big apology. Ian and his family a big apology for that. I don't know if he ever gave it to Ian and his family. Obviously, he can't give it to Ian now. He can still give it to the family. But that's basically why I fell out with Andrew Johnson. And, well, it's, as I said, Ian's gone now, so I hope he made amends with Ian. Because if he has, as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of it.
Okay, so there you have the remarks, and this relates to, as he said, this situation where Ian Crane had fallen ill, and there were a number of errors here that Ben had made. First one was that he says, I commented on a video of Ian Crane's. Well, that's actually not true, because it was actually on somebody else's profile, Nicky Briley, that I commented, and I saw the video linked on UK Column that Ben referred to, and I placed a comment on here which was basically as Ben said, but he missed out a couple of important things. Firstly, I did say that Ian Crane had lied about 9/11, and I'll go through that shortly in a minute, although I've spoken about that many times, and I'll show you that as well. And what I actually posted on this profile was something along the lines of, yeah, he lied about 9/11 and I wish him well, I hope he gets better. You know, and really what I wanted to draw attention to was the fact that Ian wasn't being totally honest. And, you know, Ben might be right in that it was an insensitive time to do it or whatever, you know, but that's what I did. And what happened was, Nikki, who owns this profile, I think she was slightly upset by what I said, so she deleted my comment. The other thing that Ben got wrong was, you know, I didn't see his comments. If he swore at me, I didn't see that. He never contacted me about this. I didn't know that he'd even seen it or that he was upset about it. I don't know whether the family saw it, because this was on somebody else's thread, as I say. This wasn't on Ian Crane's thread, it wasn't on his video. But I wanted people to know, you know, that what Ian Crane has said about 9/11 was incomplete. He missed things out, and he had no reason to do this. And, you know, I'll go through this. Well, I'll go through this now and then come back up to a few other things, questions I've got about Ben. Now, what happened was, for example, that Ian R. Crane had actually done a speech, a talk in September 2011. You see the date there, and I'll just get this up. Just bear with me a second.
Now, it's the World Trade Center towers and the collapse of the towers that cause you to have to suspend your knowledge of Newtonian physics if you believe the official version of events. Building 7 was indeed a perfectly executed controlled demolition. The building came down in its own footprint, and the pile of rubble was 12.5% the original height of the building, exactly as per the controlled demolition textbooks. Buildings 1 and 2, which are more than twice the height of Building 7, just to put it in perspective, Building 7 was roughly the height of the tower at Canary Wharf. Just to put it in perspective. The Buildings 1 and 2 collapsed into dust. The buildings totally disintegrated. There is no explanation as to what has caused that. It's a big question that's left open.
So Ian Crane said there was no explanation for the destruction of the towers. Well, this is extremely concerning, because I'd known Ian Crane since 2005, and you know, he actually came to my house once, and I gave him some DVDs that I'd burned for him, and I mentioned that in the article just briefly. And so he was well aware, for example, of the work of Dr. Judy Wood, and he was aware of the Dr. Judy Wood's book, which is Where Did the Towers Go?, which had been published in the end of 2010. Ian Crane never asked me for a copy of this. We never discussed this book. He never spoke about it. Indeed, he seemed to prefer to talk about bombs in the building, and as you see there, the biggest problem I had was that he completely missed this out of his presentation in 2011, and in fact, to my knowledge, he never spoke about this. Now, I actually did speak to Ian Crane in 2009, and we were at an event in Scotland, in Kirkcaldy, and I actually, you know, picked him up on this because Tony Gosling, who ran the UK 9/11 Truth Forum, and I think still runs it, such as it is now, he actually wanted to move around my post when I was talking about Dr. Judy Wood's and Dr. Morton Reynolds' court cases. And you know, I outline this here, what Ian Crane said to me. Now, I don't have a recording of this, and I don't have an article about or he hasn't written an article about this. But basically, when I picked Ian Crane up on this, as we were going around talking about evidence, and so you, Ian, Ian was doing talks about evidence of, the New World Order and this sort of thing back in 2009. But when I talked about the court case and says, well, we were doing but we were putting the evidence into a court case, to try and get a prosecution of some kind, get some action going. And then his response to me then was, you're pissing in the wind. He didn't really want to, he wasn't interested in this case, he didn't want to support it. Apparently he never spoke about it, certainly. And we have to remember that Ian Crane used to work for Schlumberger, and if you look at his website, for example, there is very little information on it. Sorry, I've got the wrong link there, just hang on. So this is Ian R. Crane's website, and for example, there's no real information on this website as such. There aren't any articles. He's got a bit about himself, and then there's all these videos from his alternative view presentations, but I think most, if not all of these, are behind a paywall, so make of that what you will. You know, this is kind of the antithesis of my website, as I say in the article I just posted. So, and you know, you can look at the symbolism here with the pyramid and the cat pyramid and the light coming out of the top. Is this significant? I don't know. You know, I didn't really discuss this in any detail with Ian, but all I can tell you is that he never spoke about the relevance of free energy in relation to the destruction of the World Trade Center, because again, if you look at the evidence in Dr. Judy Wood's book or on the website, you will see the only explanation for the destruction of the towers involves the use of advanced technology which is able to direct energy to cause destruction. Now, we maintain that that same technology can be used for peaceful purposes, and you know, you can use it to for example, green the deserts, or you could use it to create anti-gravity effects, so that you didn't need roads, for example. Those sorts of effects, i.e. anti-gravity, were documented in the evidence from the World Trade Center. So this is hugely important. Now, you know, Ian Crane was involved in the anti-fracking movement, but what if everyone knew that fracking wasn't needed? What if everyone knew that you can get energy out of the vacuum? This is the point. You know, this is the point. And the other point, which is becoming more and more important now, because we've got this COVID scam going on, and is now being integrated with the climate change scam. You know, we've seen articles about this, I've written a bit about this, and other people have made videos about it. But what other people have not made videos about, because this seems to be one of the biggest cover-ups on the internet, is, for example, the presence of Hurricane Erin on 9/11, and, for example, the evidence which shows that this storm actually moved from Bermuda on the 7th towards New York and ended up close to New York City at about 8 AM in the morning, and before the events of 9/11 unfolded, and then it turned right the next day, etc. That's all in Dr. Judy Wood's book. We've spoken about that since 2008. To my knowledge, Ian Crane has never spoken about that. Piers Corbyn, you know, for example, he's never spoken about it either. It's hugely important that people know this. So this is why this is so important, and why I chose to make this comment about Ian Crane. Maybe it was badly timed, maybe Benny's right, I don't know. But I made it anyway, wanted to draw attention to this, and I think it was hugely significant that Ian Crane and others like him, I shouldn't really single him out because I've written a whole book about, you know, illustrating where other people don't talk about this. So that was my motivation for making these comments. So I go a bit more in detail, you know, to some of those things in the posting because it's relevant. But just to go back and talk a bit more about Ben, because Ben himself is, you know, an interesting character. I like Ben. I was thankful that he did seem to support what I was doing. He has, as he says in the video, he's talked about Dr. Judy Wood's research. Again, I don't know how many of the details he's covered because Ben has such a prolific output. You know, he writes this blog, you know, hundreds of posts on there. He's very prolific. He's made lots of videos. He's done podcasts. You know, he's got loads more content than I have. He's a knowledgeable chap. He's a good speaker. He's got a good speaking voice. You know, so that's all great. You know, and I'll say here as well that Ian Crane and Ben have probably woken people up to the wider sort of picture, but there are problems with some of what they're saying. I mean, Ben didn't get his facts right about about the posting of the Ian Crane comments. He didn't get that right, and that's sad because he should have given people an accurate picture of what happened. The other problem with Ben, you know, for example, is his support of Larry Warren, who's the Rendlesham witness. I'll come to that in a minute, though. I'll do this first. That, for example, you know, I got to know Ben in about 2012, and also he was featured on Richard D. Hall's program. I think I first spoke to Ben probably 2012, 2013, sometime around then. I can't remember the exact date. But I was later either found this video on his channel or somebody else alerted me to it. I can't remember which. But October the 6th, 2012, he posted this video that you see here called Ben is a Shill. I'll play a very brief clip of this.
Hello, yeah, could you put me through to MI5, please? Come on, hurry up. Shit. Hello, yeah, hello, this is Ben Emelyn Jones. Oh, hi, John, yeah. John, I need to order an emergency extraction as soon as possible. Yeah, the conspiracy theorists have worked out who I am. Yeah, my cover's been blown completely. So please, could you send a car to pick me up?
So in that video he talks about being a shill, you know, and he kind of jokingly says that he's been profiling people and stuff, and he's now going to go and live in the Caribbean because he's going to be paid off, you know, for betraying the truth movement. Very peculiar video. I mean, it might be his idea of a joke. I don't know. I don't really know him that well personally, but I found this very uncomfortable to listen to. You know, and there's the old expression, many a true word said in jest, you know. And then the other thing that I mentioned, as I say earlier, was this thing with Larry Warren, who's the alleged Rendlesham witness. And Ben has written many articles in support of Larry, but Larry has clearly lied about his knowledge of Rendlesham and what happened. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but Richard D. Hall, he did a program on this back in 2015, I think. I forget the exact date. It's on here somewhere. No, be later than that. I think it was probably 20. Let's have a look. It's on here somewhere. Yeah, it was in 2019 or 2020. Yeah, 2019. So, and the conclusion from the statement analysis was that Larry Warren was not telling the truth. He was not telling the truth about what he knew about Rendlesham. And there was a whole big argument in the UFO community, you know. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, when Larry was posting in pictures of himself with John Lennon, and he was selling these dodgy memorabilia on eBay and stuff, and he made threats to somebody on Facebook, threats of violence, really quite, you know, nasty things. I was very disappointed in Larry because I originally believed his account back in 2003, 2004, pre that time, but I became more and more uncomfortable with some of the things he was saying and doing. And I think the statement analysis did show there were too many problems with what Larry was saying, and you know, he was basically lying. But Ben has never acknowledged this. He continues to support Larry in the same way, to me, that Ian Crane wouldn't talk about the truth about 9/11, or he missed important things out. So, you know, what is it with these people? You know, as I say at the end, really, you know, you shouldn't be economical with the truth. If you're meant to be a truth seeker, you're not a politician, you're not being paid, you know, you're not an official in a job that's going to be affected by, you know, telling the truth. Like some of these health officials now with the COVID stuff, if they told the truth, they'd be fired sort of on the spot almost. You know, Ian Crane and Ben Emelyn Jones are not in that position. They should tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's essentially what they're expected to do because they're outside the system. You know, they're doing this as a vocation. They're not doing it as a paid job, or you know. So I would understand. I'm certainly not paid to do this. I get paid by the university I work for. You can find out which one that is if you you know, look at my older videos. And that's where I get most of our income. So all of this to me is a passion, it's a vocation, it's something that needs doing. I make a small income off you know, some of the books that I sell. You can download the books for free, for example, but you know, you've seen on here I sell the books from here and whatnot. So you know, that I make a couple of quid off each copy of these that are sold in paperback, but you can download them all as PDFs for free. So you know, I don't make any money off this, and frankly I don't want to at this point. People send me donations, it's very kind, I don't ask for them. So you know, bear that sort of thing in mind as well. So in summary then, you know, I'm really just saying that I'm unhappy that Ben would make statements which are not true. The point being that I didn't comment on Ian Crane's Facebook page. I haven't had any contact from the family. I don't know his family. If they've been upset by what I've said, I'm sorry for that, but it is true. You know, I've got the evidence there. You can see the evidence in that video clip that I showed that Ian Crane was being economical. You know, he knew me, you know, and yet he never spoke to me. I last saw him in 2016, I think it was. He didn't speak to me, refused to share a platform with me back in 2009 to somebody else, not to me. So, you know, make of all this what you will. But I just wanted to say that, you know, to get these things off my chest and get them on the record here for those that regard them, as I do, as being significant. So thanks very much for listening, and I hope that in the end this will all come out in the wash, so to speak.